Welcome to the North American Challenger Series as we head into the deciding game between CLG Academy and Tempo Storm. They're all tied up at 1 apiece, and both of these teams had very dominant early games in their victories. But there's a big difference in how they actually closed out the games.
Yeah, and it's a little concerning if you're a CLG Academy fan, just because the first game, great early game lead, really stalled out hard in the mid game before finally being able to close it out with some decisive team fighting. Tempo Storm just looked a lot better overall when they got their lead. So if you are on the side of CLG, maybe you start looking for a little bit more tools like they had in game 1 for those early game plays. The Galio Global was huge. Maybe you look to substitute that with something that can do a little bit more in the early game, not someone who just wave clears like a Victor.
Yeah, and you also have to kind of rethink the fact that Rumble was a very big reason why they won game number 1, but then got counterpicked by the Jace in game number 2, and then became like a huge detriment to the team. The fact that he was almost 100 CS behind Quas, 15 minutes into the game, he had no impact whatsoever in those fights.
Yeah, and it felt kind of like an overestimation out of CLG Academy where they saw Quas pick the Swain into it last time. They think, oh, I guess that's his only counter pick. That wasn't that scary, so we'll just take a blind early. And then he pulls out the Jace, he smashes it in lane, he's winning 1v2s in side lanes, trading out kills, and kind of look back and go, maybe we overestimated how important the Rumble pick is.
Yeah, so we'll see if the adaptations in game number 3 are, as CLG Academy is back on the blue side, so that could potentially open up the fact that Tempo Storm now has to decide if they ban away the Elise or ban away the Galio, but the Thresh continuously being banned for CLG Academy against Tempo Storm, as well as the Warwick being banned away by Tempo Storm against Omar God.
Yeah, and I'm surprised to see Tempo Storm kind of keep that ban. It's a little surprising to say we need this maybe. I understand that sometimes you don't want to change up too many variables at once, and all of a sudden they bring in the Warwick pick and you're not prepared to deal with it, and you feel pretty comfortable out of what you've seen so far today against CLG Academy, but looks like they are going to go with the Galio ban instead, and then you're most likely to see a Zac ban come in. CLG Academy banning out that LeBlanc. It was left through last time, I believe, all the way throughout the draft, and neither team really took it, so a little surprising to see them ban that one away this time.
Yeah, and we'll see if there's going to be a continuous mid-lane theme of bans from CLG Academy, or if they wind up banning away the Elise, and it will be the Elise, which means that now the Zac potentially being banned by Tempo Storm means we're going to see something completely different here from the side of CLG Academy. They had to pick a new mid laner. They could still wind up going with that Olaf pickup for jungle, though.
I'm surprised to see the Elise ban. It might be a little bit of telegraph saying, oh my god, does not really play this. If you had left it up, we would have let it through. And then the Zac ban for Tempo Storm means that great. Now we can get rid of all that. Not a ton of super high priority stuff left available right now, I believe. So we'll have to see what they want to go with early on here. They're going to go with the Gragas, a great champion in the fact that it's flexible, it's a tank, it brings magic damage, it does everything well, but not a dominant pick in terms of how it actually plays out in game.
Right, and you said the flexibility of the pick is really good to kind of take it as that one overall slot as they wind up grabbing that, potentially going to be something that could go into the top or into the jungle.
The Annie hover.
Yeah.
Shout out to LS, who's always preaching about simple champions for simple players.
Well, and Quas, the threat was that Quas would might be forced onto the Annie pick if he, did not perform on some of his own kind of comfort picks, but it will be the Caitlyn in response from Tempo Storm. Kind of what we expected to see. Also, more importantly, as Annie's continuing to go down this champion select, it's the fact that they kept Revan in for game number 3, which means that they saw the aggression he was able to bring into the bottom side of the map. And there was something that looked like they were missing in game number 1 that they were able to capitalize with in game 2.
Blitzcrank priority had been going up over the course of this series steadily, and it reaches the point where it's first rotation-worthy Tempo Storm thing. And it was kind of a huge crutch for CLG Academy, like we said, to be able to constantly shoot those hooks out, and it's a pretty low commitment option if it doesn't work. This time around, not only is it a good takeaway, but you saw that, for the most part, she was able to use it pretty well, being able to win a 2v2 bot lane trade early on with it. That said, the Caitlyn pick, we were talking about how it's not at its full potential with melee matchups. This time they're pairing it with the Caitlyn instead of the Lucian, who's a little bit stronger when you actually decide to go all in.
Yeah, we'll see what the response is from CLG Academy. It is going to be the Jhin. They banned it away themselves in game number 2, did not want to play the Caitlyn into that matchup, and they're going to be picking up against themselves here in game number 3. We saw Zag being comfortable to kind of just sit behind a very beefy front line to do so, with the Galio banned away, though. We'll see if there's something else that CLG Academy has in mind for the Jhin, or if they still want to pick something and supplement it maybe with an early Orianna that's been kind of Selfie's go-to so far in both of these games.
We'll have to see. Looks like they're going to go with their support pick instead right now, matching the Braum against the Blitzcrank. Yep. Very similar to a lot of, like we said, beefy champions in the bot lane who you take into Blitzcrank.
Like Sejuani.
Like Sejuani, another Freljord champion once again here, but Braum also very strong, has the ability to hop out. Sejuani does have her Q if she wants to, try to dash away, but you can kind of body block that as the Blitzcrank if you are getting into that all-in where you pull her in, you knock her up, and then you stand in front of her and she has to flash Q out. Braum can always just W himself out of there, so potentially a little bit better defensively if you're concerned about the all-ins that happened last time around. Instead, Tempo Storm blind going to take this Jarvan away right away.
Yeah, so Jarvan goes into potentially the top lane. most likely the top lane coming out here from that pickup, although the Gragas could potentially be flexed into the jungle pick, so the second ban phase may be a little bit more interesting. Also, the Braum pickup usually has really good, it's not the most aggressive in-lane champion, but when you have a melee versus melee support matchup, it can wind up being very good, but it usually has extremely good gank assistance, so while it's not as powerful as a roaming Blitzcrank could be, we might be able to see Phil making things happen on the map once the lane phase gets a little bit longer.
It is still a little surprising to see it paired up with the Jhin, a champion that does not synergize inherently that well with it. Like when you pick Braum comps, you want people who are able to throw in their auto attacks pretty easily in the bot lane, because you can get that stun off on his passive a lot easier. Things like Lucian with the double tap or Caitlyn with the extra long range. Jhin shoots relatively slow, doesn't have anything that's going to do extra auto attacks or anything. So generally speaking, a little less synergy, but if you're focused more on the team comp and what it does in the Blitzcrank, it still makes some sense.
No, that's what we saw CLG Academy picking for in game number 2. Didn't work out for them. We'll see if it does in game 3. It's the Orianna ban from Tempo Storm, so they don't want that one going over to the side of CLG Academy. CLG Academy are also pinching down the mid lane champion pool themselves. They ban away the Cassiopeia, and it's a Talia ban coming out here from Tempo Storm.
A lot of mid lane focus this time around. We mentioned the LeBlanc ban this time, followed up by the Ori, the Cassio, the Talia. You have to wonder about that Syndra ban now. Is that one going to come through as well, or is Tempo Storm going to just grab that one blind and say, hey, this is enough of a power pick, we're fine taking this, and then maybe flexing the Jarvan, like you said, to the jungle? Right now, it's preferred in the top lane pretty seriously, just because it has a better income, and the fact that it can build 2 damage items with the Black Cleaver and the Titanic Hydra, and then you go full tank, and you have this big burst uploaded, front-loaded in your kit, and then you pop your Gargoyle Stone Plate, you get a ton of health, so you don't need to do any more damage, and you just sit in the middle of the team until your cooldowns come back up. So that's generally why you see in top lane a little bit more, as well as the fact that in jungle it struggles with some early clear problems.
Well, we are seeing a Swain being hovered over here from Tempo Storm, though, so it may wind up being flexed over to the jungle, or maybe Selfie might be taking it into the mid lane if he has an advantageous matchup, but the Swain is locked in here for Tempo Storm, and we'll see what CLG Academy's response is going to be. It was the Rumble in game number 1. We'll see if they do something very similar, or if they're going to be using something that's a little bit more global. They were hovering the Shen there for just a moment.
Just a moment. We said that, I mean, there's potential the Syndra got banned out, so they go with their top lane blind pick. And yeah, if you see a Swain picked on a Quas team, it's most likely going to the Swain Master. So pretty safe to assume that's going up to the top side. Looks like CLG is going to assume that as well. And they take the Rumble, which did fine into it in game 1, hoping for a repeat performance. And honestly, Fallen Bandit, even in game 2, when he was shut down pretty hard, still had some good equalizers and was able to get good damage out in team fights.
Also, one of the things that you do have now is you have Quas on the Swain, puts an AP threat on the side from Tempo Storm. You could have Selfie play the Jace, and you could potentially have them swap sides of the map and wind up having the Jace still go against that Rumble match.
Why are you so obsessed with Jace mid lane?
I'm so obsessed with Selfie's Jace because it's really good, but we also saw him being very good on the Orianna, which has been banned away, so now I'm kind of just thinking about what is he going to wind up taking into this mid lane matchup, as the Victor will be the thing that CLG Academy picks up for themselves Tuesday. Didn't have the greatest performance on it in game number 2. Going to try to get the run back here in game 3.
There's still a lot of options available for Selfie. His Ahri is pretty strong. His Assassin has showed well as well. So you have some more of the Assassin champions, and as we mentioned, Assassins, he's hovering the Fizz. Gonna have to see if he locks this one in, because its all-in potential is pretty high, especially as an AP mid laner, and it is going to be the mid lane Fizz.
All right, so we're going to see Selfie on something a little bit more upfront and damage focused here, as the Fizz looks like it will be the thing that he winds up utilizing in the mid lane. Still have a couple seconds to swap it around, although I think it's just mostly for suspense. But that does mean, of course, that now CLG Academy is going to have Omar God on the Gragas in the jungle pickup too. So not necessarily as threatening as an Olaf running at you, but still has very good early game pressure, specifically more as a ganking champion.
Yeah, so one thing that we forgot to mention quickly was the fact that with the Swain locking, of course, it is the Jarvan going into the jungle, not a mid lane Jarvan or anything like that. So they end up with a very short-range all-in team comp here, with Caitlyn being the main range threat on the side of Tempo Storm. CLG Academy, kind of their traditional strong team fighting team comp, but pretty magic damage heavy. Both teams are going to have to make a lot of plays in the early game, I think, because that's where they're going to have the couple of the biggest advantages. If you can shut down the Fizz early, that stops his split push, as well as his big all-in threat against the Victor. Similarly, if you get that Fizz going, he's going to be a nightmare all game long on the side of CLG Academy.
Well, so far the mantra of this series has been win the early game and wind up winning the entire game. Tempo Storm did it in game 2. CLG Academy did it in game number 1. Tempo Storm did it a bit quicker, though. So we'll see what winds up coming up in the early stages of the game here. And one of the things you've been pointing out all game has been the jungle pathing. Now that we have Omar God on this, Gragas has the ability to go over walls with the body slam. More importantly, we have a Jarvan in the jungle, which I haven't seen for a very long time in the jungle.
Of the two champions that have good level 2 all-ins, Jarvan a little bit superior if you can land the EQ damage, which admittedly is a little hard because it is telegraphed and flash capable of being flashed out of. But if you land it as well as your passive proc, doing a lot of early game damage at level 2, he can get some pretty gnarly all-in level 2s.
You see, oh my god.
Speaking of, you know, that kind of win lane, win game mentality, I always wondered who coined that phrase. It's one of those lost sayings that you don't know where it originated from.
Win lane, win game?
Yeah, it's like a Confucius saying, but you can't credit it to anyone.
Credit to Confucius then. Confucius say, win lane, win game.
I guess that's more aggressive than most Confucius quotes, I feel
Maybe
like.
it's
He's more of a I thought it was pacifist for the most part.
Maybe it's in the Art of War.
That'd be Sun Tzu then, because I don't think Confucius...
No, he did not write the Art of War. I know that much.
Okay.
Listen, you may think I only know about skins in-game of League of Legends, but I do know a little bit of philosophy on that side.
I know about Oktoberfest Gragas, one of the best skins in the game.
Oh, okay. See, I'm impressed here. That was one of the things I actually... See, I said I normally like to compliment my co-caster, but Freak was the one that had the skin game over me last week.
And here we see, yeah, he'll always have it over me. I'm fine with that. Wiggly actually starting red buff. It's one of those things that is a little surprising to see. Fizz does not help well with the Raptors, and Jarvan can get low, like I was saying, so it looks like he wanted level 2 before he did them, potentially. Or the other option is he's opening up the potential for a cheese gang with starting red buff, but either way, ends up doing the Raptors as his second camp this time around.
Yeah, we actually saw on the bottom side of the map, CLG Academy completely zoned away just by the threat of a Blitzcrank hook, so both of these teams going to be relying on, I guess, where their junglers are going to be, as we see pings going down from the side of CLG Academy, trying to scout out where they think Wiggly is on the map right now. Oh my god, kind of mirroring or reversing where he's going to be, actually. So he wound up going on his red side now, mirroring the path towards his blue side. So very similar jungle pattern, but opposite sides of the map is where they land.
Yeah, this time around, like last game, Wiggly doing the 3 camp clear into Scuttlecraft. Could potentially look for an early gank here on to Tuesday. There's no ward on this side of the river. He should know that this is the side Wiggly's going to end on, but he's intelligently playing up to the top side of the map.
Both of these mid laners playing kind of towards where their own jungler is going to be. A Selfie dashes forward onto the Fizz. Has the passive proc on him. Will get a large chunk of damage, but unfortunately for the side of Tempo Storm, Wiggly unable to close the gap too far onto Tuesday.
That's what we're talking about. Playing to the right side of the lane is super important. It keeps him out of range of Wiggly's follow-up. Eventually runs into the top river. Tempo Storm ward it, see that there's no one there, but the positioning is already too good for Tuesday, and they can't get onto him.
Yeah, so mid lane, once again, a focus from both of the junglers as the bottom lane, going in favor of Tempo Storm. Revan now playing something a little more long range here. Zag actually going to get hooked in as Sheep trying to deal some damage back onto him. But just underneath the tower, poking and prodding back and forth, and a couple of laughs coming out from Sheep.
We talk about how the Braum can be an annoying champion to hook in on Sheep, but the Jhin is one that you're very happy to pull in. Has no mobility. His range early on is not actually super good. He'll usually be in range of those Blitzcrank hooks. So, as well as the fact that you have probably a push advantage with the Caitlyn, means there's not that many minions in the way. He's going to be hitting under the turret, and you will easily be able to fish for some hooks, as you saw them get one there.
We see Wiggly trying to make it repeat getting into this mid lane. There are no summoner spells burned before, so Tuesday has a life advantage over Selfie. He just flash away from the knock-up here from Wiggly. A flash body slam from Omar God is going to wind up saving his mid laner, but this is going to be for some safekeeping as Tuesday drops extremely low. No one able to pick up kills in the mid lane.
A lot of flashes traded overall, though, and most importantly, they get Tuesdays while keeping Selfies available. So at level 6, get ready for an explosive all-in at the mid lane. Omar God did a good job of covering to make sure that it wasn't a death instantly here, which is great and all, but you're still very, very happy about that, as Tempo Storm being able to get that flash out on the Victor will make it super hard to play out at 6.
Yeah, we see Selfie immediately using his teleport to get back in the lane, so he's going to be able to soak up a bit of that CS that was crashing into his tower. Most importantly, keeping even in the matchup here in CS, where Fizz normally has the melee assassin. Falls behind against these ranged champions early on, as you mentioned, going to make that level 6 all-in extremely powerful.
Some good attention early on out of Wiggly. Not only is it great because, one, that Tempo Storm style, like you said, they always want to have Wiggly playing around Selfie. It helps kind of control the lane a little bit easier. So if you're more focused on trading and trying to keep the Fizz off you because there's this extra attention coming in from the Jarvan, you know, Fizz is able to CS a little bit more as opposed to just get auto-attacked relentlessly by the ranged Victor.
Top side of the map, this matchup going pretty much dead even. We actually didn't see Fallen Bandit getting huge advantages in the early lane phase over Kwasi Swain, which is why Cross would probably pick this matchup into the Rumble, but it was a team fight advantage that Rumble was able to really get on the side of CLG Academy. A lot of that was facilitated through that early bottom lane dive, which CLG Academy looks like they're no way ready to set up for once again, specifically the fact that they're lacking a Galio in the mid lane. But now we'll have to see kind of, if they're left to their own device on the top side, can Quas kind of go for the 1v1 Selfie here? Not quite level 6. able to set up a little bit of damage, though, onto Tuesday. So you now see Sheep kind of walk around that side as well. Oh my god, and Filler here smites away the Scuttle Crab from Wiggly, so that's going to be vision advantage on the bottom side going towards CLG Academy. Oh my god, they're getting a little bit pushy here. Stun winds up landing down from the passive proc from Braum. Has to flash away from the Deadly Flourish there as Sheep.
Gonna lock him up there if that lands, and Victor was in range to potentially get the follow-up damage, need to get the kill. And one thing that's happening here is with the attention that Wiggly was putting on the mid lane, he's fallen pretty far behind in XP. We talk about how with the new jungle camps, CS can be a little deceiving, but Omar God, I believe, is up at least a full Raptor camp, which puts him pretty far ahead. Wiggly's still 4 to Omar God's 5. And if they can delay the level 6 power spike from coming in from Wiggly, it does make Tuesday a little bit extra safer in the mid lane as they're waiting to hopefully survive his flash cooldown being down.
Yeah, not only that, but by putting more pressure towards that mid lane here from CLG Academy, they're diminishing the fact that Selfie hit level 6, has the Chum the Warders available, and they're trying to buy time for Tuesday to get some of his summoner spells back up. Barrier almost left back available for them. So now Selfie, don't know if Omar God saw him walk into that brush, actually. Omar God, he's going to be the victim of the first Chum the Warders. The Playful Trickster is there. He gets poked back in by Sheep. Wiggly's going to make up for some CS. His first experience, his first blood goes over to Selfie.
Yeah, and we said, there's a 2-for-1 trade of summoners. We're talking all about Tuesday's flash being down. Well, guess what? Omar God's is down too.
Yep.
Caught out in the river there off a roaming Selfie. Gets into that brush, hides away from him, bumps into him in the river. And with the help of the roaming Sheep as well, able to get first blood for his team. And now you're starting to get worried with that Fizz getting off the ground pretty well here as best you could.
Yep, he's got that Dark Seal, so 2 stacks on that one. Gonna give him a little bit of extra ability power. Normally it's Sheep that are being herded, but this time around it was Sheep that was able to kind of make this play happen as Omar God getting a little bit pushy. Puts some vision down on the top side of the map, but yeah, he's not able to see Selfie sneak into this pixel rush. Just barely doesn't see him.
And not only is it about fog of war distance, it's about angles as well. Able to sneak into that brush because it was blocked out of the line of sight. From that, Omar God gets taken down. Kind of unfortunate there with the timing because it wasn't like Tempo Storm knew that he had just invaded the topside jungle for vision. They didn't have any up there. So just one of those things that breaks Tempo Storm's way and could really put the game in their favor. But now they want to group up as 5 mid. They're trying to play around this power spike. The flash is almost back available. Group as 5 and stop Fizz from being able to all in with a big push, as well as stopping his ability to wave clear.
Yeah, I mean, Fizz himself and chunked out in that mid lane here for some pressure coming out from Tuesday, and CLG Academy put some really good damage down. See, quick little barrel toss, going to have the explosive cast, not able to seal the deal on Selfie as Omar God takes a couple of tower shots. The Ignite is on, one last tower shot will seal the deal. Sheep gets himself a kill.
Big mistake out of CLG Academy getting too aggressive around that mid lane turret. Now they're getting collapsed on.
Yeah, not done quite yet. Quas coming in, the Never Move lands. They're actually able to separate Phil and Tuesday. The heal and the flash have to come out as well. Tempo Storm not able to net some kills, but more summoner spells burned.
Barely missing that hook by Sheep, but great roams overall by him. Able to throw that Ignite in to make sure that they actually get the kill on the overextending CLG. And then Revan, with that time alone, gets a CS advantage before roaming up to join in the mid lane. And they withstand CLG's attempted mid lane push. They get a kill, and now they're going to be able to grab a dragon while being ahead as well. And this is starting to sound kind of similar to the script of Game 2.
Yeah, Tempo Storm, early game advantages, transition it into a Mountain Dragon. It's really good when you're already ahead. They don't have the same kind of tower advantages that they did in game number 2 at the early game here, but they still have a kill on the Stealthy, and this kill on the Sheep. It's the second one that he's able to be able to pick up with an Ignite.
Really greedy on the side of Omar God there, trying to get onto Selfie with his Gragas ultimate, hoping it's enough to finish him off by himself. I would need to check if Selfie is running MR Blues, but it's pretty conceivable against the matchup that he's in. And if that's the case, there's no chance that does enough damage. Even without it, would have been close most likely. And either way, the Fizz lives relatively easily, and Omar God basically gives himself up to Sheep, who's underneath the turret.
And we see Selfie here on the Fizz, 68 magic resistance already. With the null magic mantle, that means he's running a couple magic resistance, potentially blues in there. He does have a blue buff for himself now as well, so Selfie well off the ground in this one. Has his Hex Tech Revolver as well, so the Fizz could potentially be the one that we see making plays to the side of Tempo Storm. More importantly, even though it's only a slight 9 CS advantage in this mid lane match, the fact that a Fizz is ahead in CS is phenomenal.
Right, that's the kind of thing with Fizz, is you're hoping to get out of the first 6 levels down 10 CS only, and then you start all-inning people like crazy or split pushing to get some kills. If you're able to get out of laning phase with a lead, that's great. And here you see him looking for an opening on Tuesday, does land the fish, and then the rest of his team here is to follow up. Yeah,
there's a Playful Trickster afterwards, and Tuesday had just used that Chaos Storm to clear the wave, and Tempo Storm collapse.
all too easy on the side of Tempo Storm with that pressure after the Dragon to just roam up to find Tuesday, and he loses both of his summoners again with that play. And things are going to go from bad to worse now for CLG Academy. 11 minutes in, 2K down a Mountain Dragon. And the Fizz, though, they're trying to get a kill onto him.
Yeah, the flash body slam, the passive proc coming out from Braum. He winds up using the explosive cast and the exhaust as well, but now they've had Jarvan come on in as well as the Blitzcrank, and everything is just turned completely around. Tempo Storm.
Who says mid lane is a 1v1? Constant help coming in for Selfie. Wiggly has been playing around there. Sheep has been playing around there. And you can just never assume that he's going to be by himself.
No, you see this started off very good for CLG Academy, but Tempo Storm are able to just collapse onto this one. They use so much to try to kill the Fizz. They have nothing for when the rest of the team is here.
Yeah, they get locked up in that Jarvan Cataclysm. Unable to get onto the Fizz, who was very, very low health. They get bursted out. Like we said, Jarvan bringing pretty good damage in the early game. And with that, another 2 kills go over to Tempo Storm, and things are going from bad to worse. The bot lane has now moved into the mid lane. They're going to set up this 1-3-1, and CLG Academy are going to have basically no answer to this Fizz now. Already with his Hextech Protobelt completed, that's one of the things that really unlocks a lot of assassins in the current meta. Echoes build it, some Aries build it. And you know, Fizz builds it as well, gives you extra mobility, but more importantly, extra burst damage.
You know, we see CLG Academy trying to go for a bit of a Rift Herald grab here. You saw Selfie down away in the bottom side of the map, has the teleport available. CLG Academy find a hole in the vision though. It looks like they're going to be able to get this one relatively uncontested. So a little bit of a mistake coming out from Tempo Storm, and stops the perfect game.
I was about to say, Tom, no perfect game, not even a no-hitter.
Not even a no-hitter. That's a forced error. I can keep going with these references, but I've run out of them, so I'm actually going to stop. And CLG Academy now trying to pressure this one down into the mid lane. They had a 5-man push before where Omar God wound up dying, so that first tower actually winds up going down in favor of CLG Academy. The gold lead still in favor of Tempo Storm, though. Braum going to jump in front of the fish. Actually winds up landing the ultimate onto Revan as well. The Cataclysm comes in from the side, though, as the first kills are going to the side of Tempo Storm. Jin's able to trade one onto the Jarvan, as now the Equalizer rips across Tempo Storm, but Selfie's down under the tower. Zag's gonna fall to the Never Move as Tempo Storm have collapsed, and they're the ones that wind up picking up 4 kills for 2.
CLG Academy wanted to push down that mid lane turret that they had already chunked low in a previous grouped up push attempt. They get greedy. They don't want to use the Rift Herald as well. They want to take it before then. That gives enough time for Tempo Storm to collapse with the teleports and pick up 4 kills and the mid lane turret as well.
So despite CLG Academy taking the Rift Herald and getting the first tower gold off the back of that fight, it's a 3,500 gold advantage in favor of Tempo Storm, who lost the first tower, but respond by picking up the middle one after this fight.
Like we said, they are forced to step a little bit further forward. That's an opportunity to potentially use the Rift Herald to just finish that one off and back off. Instead, they overextend in the mid lane. Phil tries to tank the fish for the side of CLG Academy. Selfie gets in there, but he plays the fight well. Does not tunnel on trying to instantly get a kill. Dips out, waits for the rest of his team to collapse. Wiggly goes in first, blocks up a lot of them, allowing them to kind of get corralled in there. And Selfie staying aggressive, going underneath the turret, trying to get that last kill. And there you see some of the decisive aggressiveness that comes out of Tempo Storm once they get a lead.
Yeah, and so Tempo Storm able to turn that fight around. CLG Academy, it looked like that they might be able to turn that one when the Braum ultimate landed and knocked up onto Revan's Caitlyn, but Tempo Storm are the ones who are able to get the collapse down. Now 9 kills to 2. Solid gold lead for themselves. CLG Academy, they're still trying to group up. They're still trying to make things happen on the map. But in this case here, where CLG Academy are the ones making things happen and moving around the map, and there's no response from Tempo Storm, but to kind of sit back and farm in game number 1, there's a little bit of an added extra edge from Tempo Storm here. They're able to respond to these fights. But see, they're able to respond to a Rift Herald from CLG Academy to utilize this one on the bottom side of the map. They are going to be the one that picking up a tower on the bottom side, but Selfie diving all the way into CLG's base, uses the Playful Trickster. Protobelt's out from the gravity field. Is he going to be able to get the kill on the Tuesday? The tower's chunking him down, but one last Q is able to seal the deal. Selfie with a solo kill.
In the meantime, in the bot lane, they're still trying to push up. They might have gone too far. Quas opens up on the Zag. A nice disengage ultimate out of Omar God stops them from potentially getting an answer kill.
Selfies just dove into their base, and at the same time, Revens didn't split push solo Caitlyn on the top side, took down a tower for themselves, so they were able to respond objective for objective.
I like what CLG Academy tries to do. It feels like they have a lot of good ideas. The initial group up mid lane to protect Victor as well as punish the bad waves on the side of Fizz initially was good. The second time around, maybe a little greedy not using the Rift Herald. Because they still have it, they want to go down and push the bot side, which works out fine, but the problem is the Fizz has no is not controlled at all, and he's able to just dive straight into their base, picking up a kill, able to make that play horrible for CLG Academy, despite conceptually not being that bad.
Yeah, Tempo Storm actually get a dragon off of that one as well. It's a Cloud Drake, so not the biggest impact on the map, but if they're going to be continuing to run towards and respond to where CLG Academy are trying to make these plays happen, could be a devastating one to have with the extra movement speed on their side. Now 4,500 gold advantage for the side of Tempo Storm. CLG Academy, they got to have a better response than they did in game number 2. Although they are super far behind in this one, it's not as far behind as they were in game number 2. Now it's up to them. How do they stem the bleeding against Tempo Storm? More importantly, how do they stem the bleeding against a Fizz who's almost 2,000 gold up over the Victor?
That is the question, Tom, and I'm not sure I have a great answer for you. They do have decent wave clear available with the Victor and the Jhin, but the problem is the lane setup, where, you know, Tempo Storm can put their bot lane mid, they can put it in the bot lane and keep pushing down while you try and protect your Victor from the Fizz. Basically, because the Fizz can always hold his own 1v1 or, you know, actually start getting kills by himself, there's no place that anyone's safe on the side of CLG Academy. Now they're trying to get a collapse down, they're pushing bot lane. And
Boss is teleporting in to tank some of this cannon creep, so they're going to force down that tower. So the Braum ultimate going across, he still has to try to jump his way out of this one. Curtain Call goes out, they're locked down in the Wiggly. Equalizer goes through the front part of the fight as well, but now it's Selfie's joined the fray. Everything is going Tempo Storm's way. Wiggly's able to flash out and keep himself alive as now Revan tries to net aggressively forward. They wind up having Tuesday getting chunked out. Sheep, though, Ignite ticking down. Will wind up actually going down to Omar God, but Omar now is in a bad place. His Selfie goes on a killing spree, just dashes right through the Gragas, picks himself up yet another kill.
Feels like the best CLG Academy can do is getting some trade kills in response to Tempo Storm's aggression. They're pushing down with the 3-man. They push in the Fizz in the mid lane and try and collapse onto the overextended lane. That's a fine idea conceptually, but they don't have any teleport advantages, so Quas answers easily. The Fizz doesn't even bother teleporting. He's just running hot on their heels, gets in the backside of that fight, able to pick up a couple kills as well. As you see here, the turret's also extremely low, so they're getting here a little late. The fact that Tempo Storm actually is able to finish this turret off means that they're not fighting under a turret, they're fighting a completely open lane, which with a Fizz who's this fed is very happy to be in this position.
Yeah, we saw Phil already having to use his ultimate to kind of disengage himself, but he goes down extremely early, and Selfie's able to pick up a kill on Fallen Bandit before the rest of CLG Academy is actually able to even start the fight.
Yeah, and at this point it's a 3v5 now, so it's very easy to chase down the rest of them. Sheep gets a little aggressive, it baits CLG Academy into kind of turning and focusing him down, but at the end of the day, you know, that's something that you're very happy to take as Tempo Storm, with 3 for 1 plus a bot lane and inner turret.
Yeah, now you're 13 kills to 3. You're less than 20 minutes into this game. You haven't set your, your personal best record for knocking down a mid lane inhibitor at 18 minutes, but you're still very far in control of this game. This is going to be a much-needed win if Tempo Storm can convert and close this one out, because that's going to put them 1 win above the rest of the pack. You have Big God Shackles, you have Gold Coin United, who are directly competing with them now for that second place seed. They've already lost both games to E United that they've played in the double round robin, so they need every single win to kind of keep the pace ahead of the rest of the pack. They haven't lost to anybody but United yet, and they're trying not to make that the case here against CLG Academy.
Oh my God, tries to go in and find a pick, but the rest of Tempo Storm is nearby.
Ooh, stays alive with an explosive cast, but Revan netting over the wall goes onto a killing spree. The Curtain Call flights out for his own jungler here. It's now Fallen Bandit trying to go toe-to-toe with Selfie, and we know how that one's going to end with a Fizz who's this far ahead. Tempo Storm now. Selfie charging into the base on a Tuesday. Again, this was like a replay of what we saw not that long ago, dipping and ducking and dodging. Doesn't even get knocked up by the Braum ultimate right there. Selfie putting on a show in the mid lane.
Styling on CLG Academy while the rest of his team is just going around, knocking down turrets and winning their own fights as well. Gonna grab their 5th turret of the game now and pushing that gold lead all the way up to 10,000 exactly on the dot.
Yeah, now we see them continuing to pressure down into this mid lane. They'd say they could peel back for Baron, but it just spawned on the map. So actually,
why not?
Ping's going down. They might actually be looking to do this one. And don't exactly know who was pinging that one, but Tempo Storm decided they're going to back away after taking all of those advantages for themselves and spend all the large amounts of gold they've acquired.
Yeah, I'm sure they've got quite a handful. All of them already well into mid to late game at just 20 minutes in with their builds. At least 2 items completed on almost every single member of CLG Academy. And now with the top inner turret down, the mid inner turret pretty low, you can expect them to probably siege up the mid turret, break that one down before focusing all their attention on the Baron. They're not particularly tanky yet, so Baron will still do just as much damage as a Baron would at 20 minutes if you got no armor, regardless of how far ahead you are. That's one of the things that teams that get ahead tend to forget, is that while the enemy team may be weak, Baron is still Baron, so they need to be a little careful with their execution here, but at the very least, they should be able to win any fights. Though Revan gonna face check. Oh my god, he panic flashed.
He panic flashes away as Oh my god is the one who actually tries to run away as well. So both of them, it's like, you know, two scared cats passing in the night is now. Oh my god getting locked up with the Cataclysm. He's gonna wind up going down. Wiggly picks up a kill for himself. Tuesday trying to trade damage on the Quas in the mid lane. Phil's come up here, wind up utilizing the exhaust, but here's Selfie. Gets the Chum the Waters down on the Tuesday Equalizer across the back of the fight here from CLG Academy. They're able to turn a kill down onto Quas as Selfie's able to hop, skip, and jump out of this one. A pull back in onto Fallen Bandit from Sheep means that Wiggly picks himself up his 4th kill of this game. Tempo Storm might not even need the Baron to pressure and crack an inhibitor now.
Yeah, they're going for the inhibitor right now. Omar God's up in 5, but then it's 20 seconds to the next one. See how greedy they decide to be. Doesn't look like they're going to try and end the game right now, but you saw in that Gragas, just a simple EQ auto combination out of Wiggly was enough to actually take him down to half health. This is one of the things why you see Jarvan in the top lane a little bit from ahead, get a little bit of AD on him, get a little bit of armor pen, and you start destroying people's health bars.
And it's an unfortunate pickup here for Omar God. We said he was the player to watch on the side of CLG Academy. His Olaf games were pretty solid. The Gragas was banned away game 1, banned away game 2, and now he's 1-7-2.
I mean, he's still the man to watch because he's dying all the time. But just not for, you don't want to watch his play, you want to see what's happening.
It's hard to watch him when he's always respawning, Mark.
No, I mean, you watch him die, you go, oh my, that's pretty impressive.
You go, Omar God?
Oh my God.
I get his name now. Normally, it's usually when he wants to try to make a fancy play happen on the map is when you're saying Omar God. But this time around, I feel like Omar Mortal, as he's been going down quite frequently.
All right.
I got you to laugh!
No, that was not a laugh. That was a chortle at the ridiculousness of it. Here, Quasco is aggressive by himself, knowing that Selfie's coming in, but they should have known the rest of CLG Academy was just around the wall to get a little over-aggressive. They're super far ahead, so it's no problem at all. Sheep collapses after the kill on the top side, able to get the hook to make this, you know, not as even as a trade, and they can continue pushing down after that.
And now Tempo Storm established vision control around the Baron pit. This time Omar God's waiting in the same brush and doesn't panic when it's Selfie that face checks. It has to flash over the wall. The Equalizer goes across with a hook closing onto Fallen Bandit. The curtain call trying to cover CLG Academy in this fight, but already Revan's picked up a kill. Selfie's low, as is Sheep, but they're able to try to turn around. Now Quas kind of flanking on this one with a teleport play. Zag gets chunked down extremely low, and one last crow from the Ravenous flock follows him after that. We also saw Omar God falling down on the front lines, and Tempo Storm, they bait the Baron. They might not even need it to push in for this win.
Nope, looks like they're going to try and end the game right now. 20 seconds on the side of CLG Academy, but there's already a minion wave in the base. They're going to try and end the game right now, trying to beat their record of old last time. I think they're already a little bit over it, but going for their second 23-minute game in a row.
Yeah, 21 kills to their name to the 4. CLG Academy with 8 of them on this Selfie Fizz pickup. Tempo Storm, they lost game 1, but they've crushed through games 2 and 3, and they're able to take the 2-1 victory.
Very impressive game 2 and 3 outside of the Tempo Storm. Their early game might not be the most explosive thing you've ever seen, but once they get a lead, they know where and how to pressure. Once that Fizz pick gets going a little bit, they make sure that they protect him at all the right times. They go for all in. CLG Academy, you know, to be fair, did their best to kind of play around the fact that they lost their flash on Victor. Basically the worst time you can lose it, right as they're about to start hitting 6s on the side of Tempo Storm, but too little, too late, and you get to see why Tempo Storm's a bit of a nightmare to play against because they have so many things that you want to get rid of on their side that it almost feels like a little bit of a waste to start trying to target Selfie.
Yeah, and well, that's one of the things that we talked about when they changed their roster around is the fact that like they used to kind of slowly stall things out for a little bit, and it took them maybe until 20 minutes to really make plays happen. But the synergy between Wiggly and Selfie, no matter what champions they're actually playing on, the focus on this mid lane from Tempo Storm, just, I mean, it keeps the tempo going. It keeps them pushing forward through these early games that were usually lackluster in the spring split.
Yeah, they combo everything together well. We talked about the Jarvan early pick. We just assumed that was going topside, and then Quas picks the Swain, Netflix is the jungle, then you get a Fizz pick, and they all of a sudden have this crazy mid-jungle dive around, you know, it's level 6, and puts a ton of pressure on the immobile champion of Victor. So really smart drafting out of the team, and just really good execution as well.
Yeah, and we mentioned that could be one of the things that Wiggly brings to the team is the fact that they have that versatility now in the entire pick and ban phase, and they're able to craft these compositions to get them these early game advantages. And I mean, we saw it in game number 2, the fact that they had all these early kills and all these early plays across the map that were netting them these early game advantages. It's kind of the same thing that rinse and repeated here in game number 3. It's this early kill montage from Tempo Storm shows how aggressive they were with these pickups.
Yeah, the roaming Sheep, very, very active this game. They're able to make sure that he's able to lock down the kill for Selfie, having the hook onto Omar God. Does it again there in the mid lane. And then this time around, they're trying to open up on the Selfie just after that kill, but the rest of Tempo Storm has his back. The flash EQ combo out of Wiggly, also able to lock them down with the Cataclysm, making sure they can't get out. And once again, who's there? Sheep. There to make sure that he's able to lend support to his carry and Selfie. And now that they've got this massive lead, anytime CLG Academy tries to push up mid lane, the entire team is ready to collapse.
And you mentioned the fact that the Blitzcrank priority rose kind of throughout the entirety of the picks and ban phase in this series. You could see the impact that it had in this game. The fact that whoever had the Blitzcrank was the one that made the plays happen in the early game.
Yeah, it's extremely strong pick. It doesn't get punished too hard by the current range champions. There's a lot of aggressive junglers right now that can combo well to make sure you actually get down there and kill them. And then, you know, even if you don't get kills in the early game, the champion still functions pretty well in the late game. As long as there's a mobile champions on the other side that you're happy to hook in, you will always probably find opportunities to potentially bring the game back in your favor if you fall behind, or just win the game instantly with a huge pick.
Yeah, as I said, that last point is the thing you hammered home in game number 1 for CLG Academy. It was the fact that the Blitzcrank was like that playmaking factor. It was the one champion that you can not rely on, but the one champion that could just make or break a late game team composition. We saw CLG Academy struggling to use that in game number 1, but eventually found themselves the win, whereas Tempo Storm, maybe just because they're a little bit more of the disciplined team, they had the more of the competitive experience on their individual players, maybe not together as a unit, but they're able to utilize that among the other picks they were able to secure to just cement those advantages, whereas CLG Academy struggled to not only close out games, but come back in games where they were falling behind.
That said, I do think that they had some intelligent moves around the map that I like overall. It was just that for the most part, they're getting outperformed by Tempo Storm. So on the early situation where, you know, your Victor loses this flash, your Gragas loses this flash, and you just lost first blood, you're scared of this Fizz popping off. You try and group up mid lane to stop him from being able to get going. That actually works out decently well. The problem is the second time that they group up mid, instead of just using the Rift Herald to get the turret for free, they overextend and the teleports come in from the sides.
And CLG Academy had some of their woes in this series, but Tempo Storm the ones that come out ahead. And for more on that 2-1 series win, I'd like to welcome Quast to the broadcast via Skype. How's it going?
Hey, it's going pretty well. Thank you.
Not too shabby. I see you guys, you lost game number 1, so you gave us a little bit of a scare, but you're able to come back and close out the series 2-1. CLG Academy are below you in this standings. Is that something that you were kind of anticipating, or like how did you react to that game number 1 loss?
Yeah, we just wanted to make this series more interesting for the fans to watch.
You did a good job of that. The champion picks helped out as well. You played your signature Swain. I'm sure everyone was happy to see that. And then you also, even in the third game, had a couple of flex picks going on. You put the Jarvan in the jungle, something that we haven't seen too much of so far. What's it like playing on a team that everyone has a lot of unique picks? As you know, last split, it was a little bit more focused on you having your champion pool. This time around, the Fizz comes out as well as that Jarvan.
Yeah, I think it's really hard for teams to balance out, so we can be very flexible with strategies. And yeah, I mean, game 1 was just CLG Black played very well and punished our mistakes. So yeah, just we'll learn from it anyway. Yep.
And then one of the other things that happened between game 1 and the other ones was the fact that you guys had swapped out Freeze for Revan. So just for some clarity for us on the outside, you know, what kind of goes into why you choose to play each one? Is it kind of like on a loss, just swap them no matter what? Some teams have done that, or is it more based off how they're looking that day, or is it comp things?
We're trying to figure out what strengths each has, I guess, with the team. So. They each both of them bring different things to the table, so we try to implement and play around both and see what like how we perform best. So yeah, just opens up a lot of new things for us to do on draft as well.
You guys are able to make it to the playoffs of the Challenger Series in the spring split. This time around in the summer split, you guys are, with that victory now, solidly in second place. Are there any kind of teams, I mean, I know you've already played against United twice. Are there any other teams that you're looking forward to try to facing off against, or any teams that you guys seem like you might have a little bit of a hard time with?
Yeah, it's just United and Gold Coin, I think, are our toughest competition. Of course, Delta Fox is unpredictable. So
everyone's worst nightmare.
Yeah, we'll have to watch out for them as well. But yeah, that's those two are the biggest threats. Definitely United being the toughest competition that we have for sure.
All right. Well, I want to congratulate you on the 2-1 victory you guys just had here in the broadcast over at CLG Academy, and thanks for coming on for the interview.
Yep. Thank you for having me.
And now with that series out of our way, let's take the latest look at the standings. Now, we just mentioned with Quas there, United holding on to first place as one of the toughest teams in the Challenger Series. With their victories tonight, Tempo Storm and Gold Coin United also will be moving into a tie at second place, which means that puts Big God's Jackals into a decisive fourth place ahead of CLG Academy and Delta Fox.
Yep, there's going to be one more thing coming up our way, though, right, Tom?
Yeah, coming up tomorrow. We got week 4 of North American LCS starting at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. Our first match aims to prove which team got the better end of their mid-season jungler trade with Xmithie and Immortals taking on Dardoch and CLG. And then Echo Fox will take on Phoenix One, who are still looking for their first win of the summer split. That's what you were talking about, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, that all starts, of course, tomorrow at the North American on NALCS 1. But if you're looking for more challenger action, we got you covered. See, I was just pulling your leg there.
Yeah,
Mark.
I know.
Don't worry.
Yeah, you got me nervous for a little bit there. I was like, I hope I didn't just get everything wrong.
No, Mark and I are sticking around for a special presentation of today's Delta Fox series against United. So stay tuned while we break down the Stream Meme Dream Team's latest exploits and potentially Mark's heart attack if they wind up losing any of these games. You're watching the North American Challenger Series Summer Split. I don't know if Omar God saw him walking through that brush, actually. Oh my God, he's going to be the victim of the first chum the ward as the Playful Trickster is there. He gets poked back in by Sheep. Whitley's going to make up for some CS. The proc coming out from Braum. He winds up using the Explosive Cask and the Exhaust as well, but now they've had Jarvan come on in as well as the Blitzcrank, and everything is just turned completely around. Ultimate onto Revan as well. The Cataclysm comes in from the side, though, as the first kills are going to the side of Tempo Storm. Jinza will trade one onto the Jarvan as now the Equalizer rips across Tempo Storm, but Selfie's down under the tower.